FM 100.9. Sorry about that. We had one song go over there. Took up 4 minutes of my time, Tom. That's I guess for all the times that I go over. It's payback time. It was payback time. That's okay. I'll take it. It's not a problem. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. I am Gilbert Carmona. I am here every Saturday morning to talk about taxes. My engineer this morning, the ever cheerful Tom. Oh, Tom, you are cheerful this morning. How was it last week with the Best of Gilbert?
I had Saturday off. So.
You had Saturday off? Oh, they just had an autopilot, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
The Best of Gilbert last week. I heard some people liked it. They said it was very good. I got them out of the... It's going on 10 years. Actually, next Saturday will be my 10 years ago.
Wow.
We'll start my 10th year right here on WCAB. We're trying to do a head count of how many shows we've done, because in the beginning I didn't record them all. We're thinking it's somewhere around... It's pushing 200. We're somewhere there pushing 200. So we've got an accurate count of 168 programs, 168 hours of Gilbert Talks Taxes. Wow. Hard to believe. And every time I say I have no idea what I'm going to talk about when I come here. So my name is Gilbert Carmona. I am an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled with the IRS, Department of the Treasury. As a matter of fact, I just got my renewal last week. I actually have a card in my wallet that gives me authority to represent you, the taxpayer, before the IRS. So if you have a problem, you don't want to talk to them. Let me talk to them for you. You can reach me at 828-289-9300. I have an office at 704 Oak Street in Forest City. Carmona Financial Consultants. We do tax preparation. We do financial planning, investments, tax issue resolution, and it's not just the IRS. It's North Carolina, South Carolina, pretty much any state you have a problem with. I can represent Americans anywhere in the world. See, people don't understand, expatriates, the reason I became an enrolled agent, I was actually going to be, I was CPA, I have my 157 hours, I have everything, and I was going to sit for the CPA. But there are three classes of people that can represent taxpayers. There are CPAs, tax attorneys, and then there's EAs. We are the oldest of the three, the oldest profession, the only licensed professional by the federal government. And I decided to go the EA route because I can represent people all over. I had a lot of clients in South America, Central America, Mexico. I had clients in Europe at that time, and I wanted to expand it, so I became an enrolled agent. And that is, I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the access it's giving me to the IRS, be able to call them through the priority telephone numbers and get through right away and deal with problems. Again, my telephone number is 828-289-9300. I have another office in Tryon at 226 South Trade Street, Tom, which is the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. I've been, it's hard to believe I've been involved in Tryon now going on 20 years. I've had that office there. It's actually going to be 10 years this January that we opened up that office. So we are, I'm just getting old, Tom. I'm just getting old.
Yeah.
So I always say I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I kind of know what I'm going to talk about this morning, but I don't know how I want to get it out. I had an epiphany. Is that the word I want to use? An epiphany the other day. That's a good word, isn't it? Epiphany. It was almost, my dad used to call it those light bulb moments, when the light bulb goes on. So, I didn't welcome our live streamers. Now, they moved the camera on me. Those of you live streaming me, and it really doesn't make me look good, Tom. But that's okay. I'll talk to management about that. I know it's beyond you.
Good luck.
Yeah. I'll talk to management about that, okay? I know people in high places, Tom.
Yeah.
I've got Lou's cell phone number. Yes, I will text her immediately.
Yeah,
so there is so they moved the camera way up high. I know they're rearranging the studio, and they're really doing a lot. Well, for one thing, I see the record collection is dwindling. Is Jim coming here after hours and taking his records home?
I don't think so. That's my job.
we need to change the padlocks. We need to change the locks. Jim's coming in here, and most of the CDs are gone. There's still quite a few left, though. The records are still here, but they're rearranging the studio. We've actually got new technology, and I heard there's a new board coming. This can go to a museum somewhere.
That's a good board.
It
really
well,
is.
it works.
Yeah.
So they're going to get rid of that. We've got computer monitors. So they've moved.
The one in the projection room used to be the board in here.
The one with the reel-to-reel tape deck?
Yeah, well, the reel-to-reel, they've taken it. But
Yeah.
that board, that microphone was originally here when I started working here.
Okay, so let me
Back
put
in the dark ages.
back in the dark ages. Well, let me that's kind of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about some history. I'm going to get into some tax. I'm going to talk, it's all going to come back around to taxation because it ultimately does in Gilbert's world. Okay, it all eventually comes back to taxation. But part of this epiphany I had involves history and involves time. So let me put that conversation we just had into perspective. You remember Richard Nixon. What Richard Nixon got in trouble for, or one of the things he got in trouble for, was he was secretly recording people in his office. He had like a microphone in the plant, and he had another microphone in like a cigar box on his desk. And
President Johnson did that too.
well, it turns out that most presidents did this, by the way.
well,
But Nixon got caught.
Yeah.
Okay, because of the different things that happened with Watergate and G. Gordon Liddy and the Cuban plumbers. Remember them?
Oh, yeah.
The Cuban plumbers. So, but he had a TIAC reel-to-reel in the next office. That's what he was recording onto.
Yeah.
A TIAC reel. That is what you guys up until like 2 weeks ago were using.
Uh-huh.
I've got 4 of those, by the way.
Oh, they're beautiful machines.
They're fun to get out and show the grandchildren. You know,
yeah.
They look at that like, what is that?
What in the world is that?
What is that? Why is that spinning around?
Yeah.
See, I can do. The live stream. I'm getting texts from people. The live stream is audio only. I can't see you or anything. Well, let me tell you, that may be good. That may be good. Thank you, the person that just sent me this text, because it's way up high, and it's like you're looking at the top of my head. You can't see my beautiful vintage ecru sweater with matching button-down shirt. I'm just telling you what the listeners, the customers, Tom,
Okay.
the ones that actually pay the admission fee, there said live stream is audio only. I
Okay.
can't see you or anything.
Well,
It says okay,
it says wrong.
and we're seeing it on there. Maybe they're having a problem on their end.
Well,
Maybe their computer's cold. Put a blanket on it, let it warm up a little bit, and
cut it off, cut it back on.
yeah, reboot. That's always the answer to everything. Reboot.
What I do.
So those of you not is that what you do every morning? Reboot? Yeah, that's what I call it when I change my shoes. I reboot. So those of you not watching me live streaming, at least you can hear me audio only. Okay, that may be a good thing. So this is I always bring everything back around to taxes, but I really had an epiphany. I don't know any other way to say this word. We see. Okay, so let me say this. We see what's going on right now. I mean, our country looks like it's a mess. And I'm not making a political statement. This isn't Republican, Democrat, Independent. Tom and I were talking before the program. I want the best man in power, whoever that best man is. Okay? I have belonged to both parties. Actually, I've belonged to all 3 parties. I've been independent. Okay, I've actually supported libertarians. So is that a 4th party? I actually heard Ralph Nader speak. He debated another person, so Green Party. So I've been very open-minded politically. I guess it's how I grew up, and that's part of the epiphany I had. And I keep using that word because I just like that word. So let me back up. I have a client who's 87 years old, and his wife passed away. And incidentally, he is from Chicago. I grew up outside of Chicago. So for 20 years, him and I have had this relationship, and I've helped him with their taxes, and I've helped him. I absolutely loved his wife, love him, and his wife passed away 2 years ago. So he wanted me to come over, and there's some end of the year tax planning we want to do. He's been a little under the weather. He didn't want to come out. to my office. He said, "Do you mind coming to my house?" Now, I have that kind of relationship with him. I've been to his house before. I've brought him papers. They've been sick and they've signed off. And I used to do that quite a bit, actually, before I got so busy. I kind of miss those days. Christy and I, my wife Christy, we used to actually go to a lot of our clients' homes that we had that were, most of them were nursing homes and that. And we used to go and take them the paperwork and they'd sign off and we'd have tea and have just a good time with them and talk to them. So I thought, yeah, this would be great. Let me do this. So Thursday I went over there and actually I said, let me pick up some pizza. You know, a couple of Chicago boys. Got to have some pizza for dinner. Yeah. So I picked up some pizza and went over there. And he was showing me a few things in his house. And so he was in the, and this is all leading up to this, okay? He was in Vietnam. Actually, I'm sorry. He was in the Army during Vietnam. Now, he had a desk job. He was never in service. It was never an active, like, when you say Vietnam, he was never in Vietnam. But he was there during those years. He was very active in what he was doing. So, as his time was ending, he was in for 4 years. He was actually in for 4 years, and he got extended because of the Bay of Pigs. What happened, Kennedy stopped all military personnel that were like getting out. He extended them because it was, you know, I mean, we're at war, or thought we were going to be at war with the Russians. So for 6 months, so because of the Bay of Pigs, he had to stay another 6 months. So right before he got out, one of his assignments was to go to a project with about 30 or 40 sergeants at the Harry S. Truman Presidential Library in Independence, Missouri. And so he was showing me pictures on the wall. He's got pictures in his office at his house of him with Harry S. Truman. And for those of you that don't know this, up until Harry S. Truman died, the Harry S. Truman Presidential Library had the unique distinction of actually having Harry S. Truman there, because he lived there in Independence, Missouri. His museum was there, and he would actually go to work every day. Like, it was a job to him. It wasn't just a place to house all his papers and all that, which today is what most of these presidential libraries are. They're not even, I don't know that George Bush kind of hangs out at his presidential library. I really doubt it. I don't even think Obama has a presidential library yet. I know they were talking about building it. Nobody knows. But Harry S. Truman was there, and people would go there, and actually, he would talk to them. And it was incredible, the stories he was telling me. So there's a picture of him with all these sergeants, and 2 of them were ladies, by the way, and other people. There was a chaplain there, all in their military uniforms, and Harry S. Truman talking to them, kind of lecturing them. And then at the end of it, Harry S. Truman gave him a there was like stationery, official, you know, stationery, and he gave him, handwrote him a little note and signed it to him personally, and signed it, dated it as a memento. He's got it framed on his wall. And so I looked up Harry S. Truman, because we all know, okay, we know he was the vice president. We know he becomes the president. We like what I know about him just off the top of my head is he wanted to end World War II. We had two atomic bombs, different types of technology, but they were both atomic bombs. We had 2 of them. He makes the decision to drop the 2 bombs on Japan. Everybody was saying that if we had a ground invasion, because they weren't surrendering, if we had a ground invasion, 1 million people would have died. Oh, yeah. And that was pretty much, no historian discredits that, who says, no, that wasn't right. As a matter of fact, if you read anything about it, they tell you it would have been way more than 1 million. 1 million is a conservative estimate. Yeah, it is. Those guys were in it till the end. Yep. They were not going to surrender. And as a matter of fact, we know stories about on them little islands where they were still fighting the war for 6 months, 7, 8 months, a year later. Some of them were still fighting the war. They were like, the emperor may have surrendered, but we haven't. So, okay, so we know all that. And so we know that he did that, and then we know when Israel became a nation, 1948, we know that we were the first country to recognize them in a telegram to Ben Gurion. We were the first country to recognize the state of Israel, okay? and it's official famous telegram where he got the rough draft and he handwrote some notes over it. They made the changes and he sent it. And had the United States not done that, a lot of historians say Israel as a country might not have happened, or might not have happened the way it happened, okay, as quickly as it happened, because immediately he had American recognition. They had American recognition from Truman. So that's all I know about Truman. So I got on my phone quickly and started looking him up. And this is part of the thing to where it really, my eyes were just open to some things. Do you know what year Harry Truman was born? 1881. 1881. That man saw some stuff.
World War I.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had a regiment.
Yes. Tom, I kind of went over that, and and way more. I mean, he did some incredible things, and even his wife was an interesting person. So he was born in 1881, and I was thinking about this as I was going home, and let me get back to that one page because I want to get that, because that to me was really like I can't tell you what that I'm sorry I said 81. I'm sorry, May 8th, 1884. Sorry, I said 81. He died at age 88 in 72. There's a lot of eights in there. I'm sorry. He married his wife in 1919. Bess Wallace. And so yeah, there's his wiki page has, I mean, a bunch of dates and a bunch of things he did, and it's pretty incredible. It really is incredible to think about it. And his work ethic, his presidential library, everything that happened, his military service. So, and you can look it up yourself. It wasn't so much him that I was fixated on. It was, I'm thinking, this guy was born in let me say it again, 18, we're so used to saying 1884, May 8th. And he's president, 45, does all the things he does at that age, and he dies in 72. And I started thinking, that's not that long ago. It's really not. I remember when I grew up, I was in grade school in the 60s and the 70s. I was in high school in the mid-70s. Our teachers would talk about Harry S. Truman. They were children when he was president. And he was famous for using, back then, what was considered colorful language.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember my teacher would say that they would quote him in the newspaper, and then there would be a bunch of dashes. And she would ask her dad, why are there all these dashes in the sentence? And because it doesn't make sense. What is he saying? And her dad said, oh, it's those journalists, honey. Just ignore that. Just, he's a good man. he's a good man. So we would actually get these firsthand accounts. And I had teachers that were born during the Depression. And they would talk about the Depression, but they would also talk about how great our country was. Not in a way like waving a flag, but the things we've been through as a nation, which these are the things that unite us. The Spanish-American War, which now I know the history people are going to call me that I'm going to get this wrong, but like was MacArthur in the Spanish-American War? I think he was.
I think so.
Patton?
Yeah.
I mean, there were guys that were in the cavalry using a sword that were generals in World War II.
Yep.
I mean, there were guys that were like 19 and 20 going one-on-one with like knives. I mean, your gun had one bullet, and after you fired it, all you had left was the bayonet.
That's it.
On horseback. Okay, and these were our leaders. And so this was the America that we grew up, you and me. I know you're a little older than me, but but still we're in that same era. We grew up learning from these teachers how we overcame during the Depression, how we overcame World War I, how we went over there, the Doughboys and over there, and you know, the songs of the time and all these things. And Cohan, you know, the songs he wrote, which we as children sang not even knowing what they meant. And our teachers taught us this. And then you fast forward now, and we have a generation that hates our history. And that was part of the epiphany where I saw it. Because, you know, we talk about this next generation. What's the problem? What's the problem? Well, the problem is what they're being taught. I mean, this country has had really, what have we, you know, and Donald Trump says it. And again, I'm not trying to make this a political statement, but Donald Trump says it. We've lost at everything. We've lost at trade. We've lost at the border. We're losing at the border. I mean, we've lost at China. I mean, China wouldn't be where they are without us. And they've turned around and stabbed us in the back, and we've lost to them. And we're not losing, we have lost. So this generation isn't hearing the greatness of our country and what these people persevered. I mean, you talk to them about, I said something to somebody about the 70s, and they were rolling their eyes up, and they're like, tell me more, Grandpa. Like, that to them is ancient history. I'm like, do you realize the things you're living with today are the result of things that happened in this country in 1865? I mean, so Harry Truman grew up with Civil War veterans. Think about that. Like, he actually knew Civil War veterans and heard all about that. With this man that just got kicked out, and rightfully so. I don't know the guy. I really don't care. They've kicked him out, the congressman, and he's a Republican. Who cares? Whatever he is, he's vile, and he needs to be removed, and he needs to be sentenced to whatever they're going to do to him. Let him do it. But he's only the 5th congressman to be removed, I think, or the only, and 3 of them were during the Civil War. For fighting in the Confederate Army. They were congressmen, and then they were removed from being congressmen. So, and it wasn't that long ago. And that was the thing that I'm writing. I'm saying that's the problem. Or it's one of the problems. This next generation isn't being, because the people that are their teachers, look what they've lived through. They lived through the failure that was Vietnam. They've lived through us losing at everything. They've lived through its humiliation after humiliation, and really one horrible president after another. I mean, I can't name a good one after Reagan. Can you? Okay. I mean, I asked people. I said, name a good president after Reagan and tell me why. And I get the same thing. I get this glassed over look. I mean, and I say, why? Tell me why. Give me a why. So the scripture that I want to share, and I can't believe I talked about this for 25 minutes. Hey, it's my radio program. I'll talk about whatever I want to talk about, Tom. Fortunately, management agrees. So, and we got some commercials to catch up with. The scripture that just kept going over in my mind and over in my mind. And I have personally known, the last thing I want to say is, I have had 2 clients that have lived into their hundreds. Marie lived to be 104. Margie died right after 103, and Margie's mind was all here right up until literally the last couple of days. And I remember I was doing her taxes. I did her taxes the year she turned 103. And I said, well, Margie, you got your money's worth out of Social Security. She just looked at me and laughed and said, yeah. She collected Social Security. I mean, think about that. For 38 years. Yep. I said, you get your money's worth. So did Marie. And Marie's mind was all here till the end. I lost track. I was trying to count them all. How many people I have known that have lived to be 99 and 100. And we think that's a long time. But the scripture that I just kept thinking is Ecclesiastes 3. I mean, it's famous. Everybody knows it. To everything there is a season and a time for every matter and a purpose under heaven. There's a time to be born. There's a time to die. There's a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. There's a time to kill and there's a time to heal. There's a time to break down and a time to build up. There's a time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones. There's a time to hug and there's a time to refrain from hugging. There's a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away. There's a time to rend or tear, and there's a time to sow or repair. There's a time to keep silence, and there's a time to speak. And most importantly, there is a time to love, and there is a time to hate. There is a time for war, and there is a time for peace. Let's go ahead and take a break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, among other things. WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
A good sign is good business. Make your business stand out with a professional sign from Dia Signs and Graphics. Successful companies all over the United States trust the team at Dia Signs and Graphics. With 25 years of professional experience, we have the ability to present your company's image in the best light. Not only display signs, but Dia Signs and Graphics can print banners of all sizes. If you need magnetic signs or window and vehicle graphics, call on Dia Signs and Graphics today. We offer a full line of sign products for any event. 3D, sandblasted, storefront, and monument signs are just a part of a complete selection of quality signage. Professional signs and banners to fit any budget. Let your business stand out. Call Dia Signs and Graphics today at 286-4900 or stop by the sign shop located on Main Street in downtown Spindale. And check our website for more suggestions at diasignsandgraphics.com.
And D&S Signs has moved. They're now at 1621 Porsford Road in Rutherford. That address again, 1621 Porsford Road.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. I am Gilbert Carmona. I am an enrolled agent, and no, I am not a historian. You need to know where you're coming from so you can know where you're going. That is it. My engineer this morning, the ever cheerful Tom. And Tom, you get it. I mean, you understand. You understand. You were there for a lot of this.
Was president when I was born.
Oh, he was president when you were born. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in 49.
Really?
Yeah.
This guy told me some great stories about him.
Oh, he was.
And to actually have met him. That was the thing to have spent. He spent an hour with him.
Oh, wow.
Talking to him in the library.
I'd love to.
Oh, he told me some things. I was looking it up on my phone, and I just was enthralled, fascinated. Okay, but listen, let's talk about taxes. Okay, let's talk about this. Is what I think the people are tuning in for. Although I don't know. I had a man tell me, he goes, your program was very interesting. He said, you talked about taxes, then you talked about World War II, then you read from the Bible, then you talked about your cat.
Potpourri.
He said, but I couldn't change the channel. It was like, I just wanted to hear what you were going to talk about next.
Yeah.
I said, well, I just get up in the morning and do this.
Yeah, Duncan Yo-Yo.
Come to my office. Yeah, Duncan Yo-Yo. No, that was Duncan Bass. Duncan Hines, whatever his name is.
Duncan Hines is what you said.
I think we had, I'm doing 2 more Best of Gilberts. I've got, Emily has been working feverishly, going into the archives and pulling Best of Gilberts things that are interesting. We have 3 programs so far. Yeah. So I forgot, I don't have a calendar here right in front of me, but we are going to do 2 more of these in December. So Gilbert can have some time off. Yeah. The 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, so the 23rd and the 30th are going to be Best of Gilberts. Yeah. I will be here. I'll be here the 9th and the 16th.
3 more weeks.
Yeah, we're going to do 2 of those, and then I'm going to have a 3rd one in the queue in case for whatever reason something happens and I can't come because tax season gets crazy and things may happen if I'm ever under the weather. One time I lost my voice and I still showed up, Tom. That's a trooper. That is a trooper. So we're going to have that, but we're pulling them through, and it's fun to go back and listen to these old programs, the things I said and how many times I was right. So about things I said were going to happen, and they happened. And it's not that I'm brilliant. It's just that there's a time for everything. It just keeps, so many things they go around. Okay, I'm going to talk. I want to make people aware, and then I guess we got some breaks to catch up on. I just want to make people aware of this. There is a thing, and it's one of these things that if this affects you, you're going to hear a lot about it. If it doesn't affect you, you won't even know what's going on. So our government passed in 2021 the Corporate Transparency Act. I can't even say that with a straight face. The Corporate Transparency Act.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, right. When our government's talking about transparency, it's, grab your wallet. The Corporate Transparency, yeah, seriously. It's time to change the combination on the safe. The Corporate Transparency Act. So they passed this law, CTA they're calling it, the Corporate Transparency Act in 2021, and sounds good, looks good. We're predicting it's going to bring some problems. What's it about? Okay, so so shell companies, and this is why I think this is so funny, is because they're talking now about what the Bidens have been doing. How many shell companies are they accused of having? I don't know, like 16 or 17. I really don't know, because I'm not following these stories. I'm just not. I just want justice to be done for whatever side. That's why I'm so glad what happened with DeSantis, or whatever his name is. I'm so glad. This guy, he was a liar. He was a liar. He was a thief. He was a crook. He never should be there. He's not qualified to hold the position. So I want this, though, across the board. Okay, I want to see this across the board. So the purpose of the act, the Corporate Transparency Act, is to prevent the use of anonymous shell companies for money laundering, tax evasion, and other illegal purposes, which after money laundering and tax evasion, I don't know what other illegal purposes there are, but okay. Currently, most states allow corporations, LLCs, and other business entities to be established without revealing the identities of the true owners. And there's a reason for that. It's not that it's a shady practice, because they made it sound like, well, you can start a corporation without identifying who the true owners are. And what's the point? Because you can change ownership. It's called stocks. Do you know the name of every person that owns Apple stock? Right? I mean, is there a database? I mean, there is. Apple has it. But actually, there really isn't, because it's fungible. It can be changed. I can sell you Apple stock and give you those certificates, and you have them, and you don't have to tell anybody that you have them. So they try to make this sound like it's some heinous thing, but it's really not. It can be used illegally, yes. Anything can. So currently, most states allow corporations, those are Incs, incorporated, LLCs, and other business entities to be established without revealing the identities of the true owners. And how that's done is you only have to declare the registered agent. I'm a registered agent for I don't know how many businesses, hundreds. I'm the registered agent. All that means is that in North Carolina, my physical location is where they get mail delivered of corporate mail, not their day-to-day, their bills and stuff. Corporate mail pertaining to the management. I, in turn, take that and scan it and send it to all the principals. I know who the owners are. I know who the principals are. Every registered agent does. It's not a secret. I mean, it's not a secret to me, but there has been no law in place where this information has to be disclosed. So you have, like the situation with the Bidens, where they have 16 shell companies, and they're just moving money between the companies. Okay, fine. Are they doing something illegal? I don't know. When really nobody knows. Until you get down to it. So the CTA puts an end to those hidden identities. The CTA requires businesses to file a BOI report with FinCEN. FinCEN, by the way, is an agency that does nothing but monitor, financial. The acronym stands for Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And most notably, one of the things they do is they monitor Americans that have bank accounts of $10,000 or more in other countries. There's a FinCEN reporting requirement if you have bank accounts in other countries. The idea is so the IRS knows if you're setting up tax shelters in other countries, kind of like FTX did in the Bahamas, okay? And there's all kinds of questions about what he was reporting. Now, the Corporate Transparency Act requires businesses to file this information data with FinCEN, and FinCEN then is going to have a database that's federal, state, and foreign law enforcement, including the IRS, the NSA, and financial institutions can look at, but nobody else. I'm looking at this list going, who else is left? I mean, pretty much every one of these agencies has been hacked, okay? It's like none of them have secure. The NSA, I mean, a Freedom of Information Act gets you that data. The IRS, foreign law enforcement. So this is going to require a lot of disclosure, and this database will not be available to the public. Right. For example, private creditors can't access it to collect debts against the owners of an LLC or corporations. It will contain no financial information. It's just going to contain who the owner of the corporation is. That's what they're saying now. I really don't know where this is all going to go. All I know is that we have to be aware, and we have to make sure that this is done for our clients, because there are steep fines. So most businesses are exempt from this. This primarily applies to smaller businesses that are not already regulated by the government. So if you're already regulated and ownership's already known, I mean, the Googles and the Apples and all those companies are not going to have to worry about this because they're already. I mean, there are companies that are so big that there is an IRS agent assigned to that company. Like, that's how big they are. And there's an IRS agent there, like they have their contact person or multiple contact persons in these companies. That's how some of these companies got exposed. You know, the whistleblowers just picked up the phone and called their agent and said, hey, this is going on. What? Yeah, let's take another break. Thank you, Tom. Okay, so just know that this is going to be a thing. Small companies are going to have to report their ownership. I'm going to be talking more about this. This kicks in January 1st of 2024, and we're going to have to file these BOAs with them. Those of you that are already my clients, you are going to be notified by me. We're going to be following up on this. And if you have a company and your accountant's not talking to you about this, or at least making you aware that this is a thing, you really might want to have a conversation with them, because this is going to be, and I'm saying this could be potentially huge if you ignore it. Okay, let's go ahead and take that second break. Thank you, Tom. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. I want to tell you about another great local business, Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949. Sean is a licensed general contractor. He can do your job from site development to completion. That's Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949 and tell him Gilbert Talks Taxes sent you.
Winter is on the way, so get your car ready and winterized at Tri-City Tire Service. Get your tires in good running order with an alignment and a new road force balance. They keep you safe on the roads wherever you travel this season. They also specialize in brake jobs, oil changes, and inspections. Visit Tri-City Tire Service today at 221 Daniel Road in Forest City, or give them a call at 828-287-8778. Tri-City Tire Service, your hometown headquarters for complete auto service.
This is Kimberly. If you owe the IRS for prior years or you have unfiled tax returns, don't call those national toll-free numbers. Affordable, secure, and local help is available for you. Call Gilbert at 828-289-9300. Gilbert is an enrolled agent permitted to practice before the IRS. Taxation is his specialty. He knows the latest laws to help you with your problem. Avoid garnishments, levies, and liens. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert at 828-289-9300.
We're back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. We should just keep going during the break because Tom and I have some great conversations. We should just keep going. Just 1 hour of Gilbert and Tom. So those of you live streaming, I guess live listening, because they're telling me there's no audio yet. I'm sorry, no video yet, just audio. At www.wcab59.com. I'm sorry about that. We will deal with this. But anyway, the camera is way up in the ceiling. It's like, it looks like one of those I look like one of those mall, videos of somebody shoplifting. That's what it looks like. Okay, so I am getting texts from people. It's George Santos. I know. I mean, I guess I knew. I'm so disgusted.
Who cares?
Who cares? Thank you, Tom, for saying that. Who cares? But yes, it is George Santos. Yes, and he is out, and he is in a group of finely distinguished men who have been removed from Congress. Yeah. And 3 of them, it was because their only crime was to have fought in the Confederate Army. 3 of the 6 or 5 or 8 or whatever. Okay, so moving on, because we've got to move on here. We've only got 15 minutes left. There are the Secure Act. Secure stood for Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement. I really think they come up with these names and then they come up with what the name means. I think I want to call it the PAST Act, putting Americans static taxes. They just make words up to equal their thing. And so the Secure Act, Secure Point 2, became law in 2022. And one of the things about the Secure Act is catch-up contributions to your retirement plans. And it is a thing, and there are some elective deferral contributions. And if you are not